I have been blessed to be raised in this church and have attended here my whole life. Even after years of learning about God through Sunday school, teaching, and youth groups and camps, I still did not know Him, but I was unaware of that fact. I tried for many years to do what I thought was right. I asked God into my heart many times, and at times there may have been a flicker of a relationship, but there was nothing long-lasting. And looking back, I can see that my intent to be saved was not the right heart. It was to get good things, to avoid hell, and just to do what was right rather than to experience Jesus. When I was 29, so after 29 years of being in the church, I was listening to a speaker who talked about 4 chairs of salvation. The first chair is where you know about Jesus. The second chair is where you know Jesus. The third chair is where you become a disciple and begin following Jesus. And the fourth chair is where you become a disciple maker. After hearing that speaker speak, I had a revelation that I had spent 29 years not knowing Jesus, but just knowing about Him. And I attempted to, I knew what to do based on what I'd been taught, but I didn't feel like it worked because I'd tried it all before. But I decided to try anyways. And so I began to consistently spend time in His Word each morning. And throughout my time listening to God or seeking God, I began to feel His presence in a way that I never had before. And I call them my Holy Spirit goosebumps. And every morning, like clockwork, I would be in my Bible and I'd start to feel Him. And that's when my doubt disappeared. And I realized that this was real and began to really dive deeper into my relationship with Jesus. After I truly was saved and I started living my life for God, life looked good for a while, and especially from the outside. But emotionally, I began to struggle. After a few years of following God, I fell into a depression, and I always had a habit of seeking distraction to numb my feelings and to just not have to think about why I was feeling those. So the only places where I felt good were church and work, and I had purposes there, and I felt valued there. And when COVID happened, I no longer was able to go to church or work, and so I fell into a very deep depression, and just daily tasks became hard. After about a year of going through that, and trying to always appear like I had it all together, God began to pull me out of it, and I began to see light in my life again. I don't really know why the light started showing up again, but I became more bold in talking about my feelings, started to do things that had originally felt hard for me, but now I could do, and speaking out when things just didn't feel right in my life. And through that, God strengthened me and prepared me for some things that were to come, and pulled me out of my depression. I remember Him telling me that I'm never going to get that low again. So even when I have times where I do feel depressed, He's given me the tools to name it, to pull myself out of it, and to not stay there. And I'm so grateful that He has allowed me to experience that, because now I have more compassion and understanding for others who are struggling, but also knowing that He's never going to leave me there, and that He'll always pull me back out. So after God pulled me out of my depression, I ended up going through a divorce. And through that time is when I felt the closest to God. I began to pray to God, and my prayer was simply to want what He wanted. I wanted my desires to align to His desires. And if it wasn't from Him, I didn't want it. Each morning in my brokenness, God would bless me with a song, and the songs were always exactly what I needed to hear. It made me feel seen and understood in a way that nobody else could, and that was something that I really clung to at that time. Even though that's the time in my life where I see myself feeling the most broken, it's also the time where I feel closest to God. And that closeness is something that I still long for these days when things are feeling better. And it's weird to want to go back to a time where you felt miserable just because you felt close to God in that time. And so I'm very grateful for that. God was with me through it, and that He never let me feel alone during that time. I always knew that He was there. And I long for those moments again where I just felt as close to Him as I did in those times. I've heard family members say that it's good to have the old me back, but it's not the old me. I'm a whole lot more than I used to be because God is within me now. There's a new appreciation for everything, and I'm grateful for my experiences of suffering and deliverance. Without it, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't know God as I do today. I am not who I once was. I have been made new, and when times come where I feel hopeless, I will cling to God, knowing that He will not leave me there.